Here's a tech tip for you. Make sure you take off your dirty glove with your goop on it before you go and press the pause button on your DVD player. Anyways, while this thing is, the wood on here is drying, I'm going to show you this sculpt-a-mold. I don't have a bag here. What I've done is I buy a big box and then put it in little containers, okay? So it kind of looks like plaster of Paris. It's crushed up in Kleenex or something like that. This is great stuff. I've tried to duplicate it several times. Usually what I do is I'll take cellulose insulation. It's basically thrashed up newspapers that they use for blowing into the walls of buildings, okay? And it's, they call it cellulose, but basically it's just newspaper. Okay, so what I'll do is I take some of that and I put it in an old food blender or processor with some plaster of Paris, and I thrash it all up together, and it kind of comes out the same, but it's not as good. It works on big projects, because this stuff is a little bit expensive, or at least it is up here in Canada. Down in the States, you can get a big bundle of that stuff, 50 pounds of it, for about $47. Up here, the same thing is about $96 plus $75 for postage. So, I mean, for what you guys can get for about 50 bucks down there, it's going to cost me over 150. Ridiculous. Canada Post sucks. Anyways, add this stuff to water. Don't add water to it. So I've just put a little bit of water on a plastic lid here, and then I've just sprinkled in a little bit of this stuff. You don't want to mix it up a heck of a lot, just basically until it's all wet, okay? You can use it for mold making too. You add a little bit more water and make it runnier, and then pour it into your mold, and then let it dry overnight. But in this case, I basically just want a gob of plaster, okay? Now that's what I use. Remember, we had this crack on the building, so I'll use that in the cracks just to fill them up, basically like like you would on a plaster wall, okay? And then I also use it along the base where I've glued the styrofoam on, okay? Now if I'm using this for something like spanning a bridge or a big gap, or if I'm putting it up on top and I want to sculpt something, because I'll use it for sculpting little gargoyles on my castle and stuff like that too. Add a little bit of weld bond to the water before you mix it up. And when I have excess of this stuff, like let's say I'm done. There, see what I've done there? I've just kind of spread it along the edge, okay? It dries really fast, but so if I have excess, I usually spread it on something and use it as a mold type. So I have an old paper cutter that had this kind of square edging on design on the base. So lots of times I'll spread it on that, and that gives me these kind of pre-made floor tiles, hey? And you can just see it's just a piece of plaster that I've spread on this thing, eh? But it makes perfect little floor tiles. They're about a ½ inch square. So lots of times I'll take those and I'll glue them on the inside of the building, which I'm going to do in this case here. This is the other reason why I like weld bond, is because it sticks to just about anything, okay? Like even glass. Okay, so there, see, I've glued that little piece of floor tiling into the corner there, and then I'll take my sculpt mold here and just go up along the edges, make it look like a little bit of the floor tile is still showing. Is it ever hot here? It's like 40 above. That's over 100 in Fahrenheit. Anyways, it's super hot. We're gonna probably get another big storm here tonight. Yesterday it was just 96-mile-an-hour winds here for a bit. Blew everything away, cut the power off on me. I was going to upload these videos, but because of that, I'm going to have to redo all my stuff that I did last night because it crashed halfway through. Haven't even fired up the computer, been scared to. Okay, voila. That'll look really good when it's done. A little bit up here just to fill up that gap where I cut the hole too much. Now that'll take 15-20 minutes to dry, and then you can paint it. Now, while that's dry, back to these little guys. This is a neat principle, this, we come closer and you can see. Okay, see there's a piece of thread in here, well not piece, there's about 7 strands of thread. And what I've done is I've drilled a hole on each side of this, and I have a little piece of wire there, and then I take a needle and thread and I'll sew it back and forth around those and pull it as tight as you can. Okay, so you get those as tight as you can, and then you wedge your piece in between the string, okay, and that'll actually give you a really good snap. Okay, I've added cranks and stuff on here so I can actually crank it down, and then I've got a lock. Boing. Works really good. Same principle I did on this, on the ballista. It's kind of hard for you to see. Anyways, that's on both of those, eh? Gives you lots of snap. The trigger is just a little wire. I've drilled a hole through and made a loop, and then I've got a trigger that pokes up through the hole, okay? And that'll catch your string. And it'll actually shoot something really, you know, here's piece of bamboo skewers. Like I said, I like them. Boing! Shoots pretty good. Shoots so good that, hey, I'm making a big one. Here's my trigger on this one. This is basically the old style wheel. Okay, it's 3, you know, circles. Okay. The middle one catches is about the same thickness as the bolts that you're going to be using. There's a 45 cut on the wheel that'll take the stick, so that's locked. That way the string, when it's hooked on here, won't pull until you go like that, and then the string will pull out of your trigger. So I'll show you that when it gets done.